Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I believe I have to start my speech today by apologizing that I will not be addressing you in Italian, but I think that's much better, not just for me, but also for you. So I will be sticking to English. It is, of course, my pleasure to be here today as a keynote speaker for this event organized by Sessione, and I would like particularly to thank Fabio Galli, and for your kind words, Fabio, the Director General of Sessione, and of course its chairman, Domenico Siniscalco, with whom we have, as Efama, a very close relationship. Fabio mentioned the topics that I am going to address today: investment and distribution models, outlook for the next decade. The recent crisis, ladies and gentlemen, has loudly alerted us to the need to strengthen investor protection. It is key for long-term savings and the contribution of those long-term savings to the growth of the European economy that we address this notion of investor protection. In the field of asset management, given the strength of UCITS as one of the probably most successful financial products available today for retail investors across Europe, in the field of asset management, investor protection is or means essentially being reinforced at the level of distribution of retail investment products, which cut across investors, product providers, and of course, distributors. Investors, because they can sometimes be challenged by the complexity of the product choice that they are faced with and their design. They may also lack, the investors, the prompt proof of quality regarding their purchase, and of course, they may lack sufficient financial education. When it comes to distributors, offering investment advice may not be given always sufficiently strong incentives to act in the best interest of the final client, independently of the existing regulatory framework. And when we talk about providers, UCITS providers notably, they may not always show appropriate consideration for investor needs, notably when it comes to product design. There is, as we speak already, a host of regulation underway in Brussels to strengthen investor protection. But there is, ladies and gentlemen, a great need to ensure that those proposed regulations will ultimately ensure and practically ensure that will result in overall improvement for investors. Consumers want and deserve transparency, simplicity, value, and choice. Quite an agenda. And it is in that context that I will today try and address that topic that I was given by looking at three aspects. One, I wish to use four major trends that we have seen in the industry over the last couple of years to highlight the need to review distribution mechanism used notably by UCITS. Second, I will set four recommendations that we believe the asset management industry, and I will say this in my capacity of chairman of Efama, that we believe needs to be addressed in order to move forward better investor protection. And third, I would give you my personal perspective of the upcoming regulations and expected challenges that we will collectively have to face in the next couple of months and years to come. Let's start with my first point, which is about reviewing the four reasons why we need better investor protection, or put it in other words, why we may need to review the distribution mechanisms that are being used by UCITS across Europe. First and foremost, we are all aware the amount of choice made available today to retail investor has never been as big as what it is, specifically in the field, again, of UCITS. That is, of course, due to the combination of onshore funds and what I will refer to cross-border funds, which is a makeup of those Luxembourg and Dublin funds predominantly that are being distributed across Europe. In 2010, over 80% of the net new flows into UCITS in Europe went into those cross-border funds that I was referring to just a minute ago. The market share in terms of assets under management of those cross-border funds represents today over 45% of the total assets under management of the overall fund industry in Europe, up from about less than 20% just a couple of years ago. Consequence. This means a deeper choice and more competition, and a need, therefore, for better information of the end investor. And the number that I've wanted to refer to here, being in Italy, is that you have in Italy alone 700, I think about 700 onshore funds in Italy, but 2,005 of those cross-border funds, 2,500 of those cross-border funds been registered for sale in Italy. That really highlights the first point that I wanted to make. My second point that goes towards the need of more investor protection is what I refer to being the winner-take-it-all environment. Quite an extraordinary trend that we have seen developing not just in Europe, but across the world. This is the polarization of fund flows coming from the overall market. In 2010, the top 1% of funds in Europe have represented 71% of the total net flows. 1% of funds, 71% of net flows. That same number, to give you a sense that this is indeed a global trend, that same number for the US, 1% of the funds in the US represented 88% of the total net flows. And in Europe, if you take the largest 20 funds, they have gathered close to $150 billion US. And when you look at the US, the top 20 funds have gathered $200 billion US. So we're not on our own. It's a global trend. But indeed, it is a trend that means higher concentration. And if one means higher concentration, one automatically think about